Well, hello, everybody. This is Wendy Dietzler. I'm the Director of Events and Education for Trade Press Media Group and FacilitiesNet. I want to thank you all for joining today's discussion, HVAC Game Changers. And I want to thank our sponsor, Aerco, for supporting this event and understanding the importance of FM industry education. So thank you to them. And we're now ready to meet our panelists today. First, we've got Juvi Parr, Product Manager at Watts Water Technologies. She oversees controls for Aerco, PVI, and Link brands. And her academic program background includes a Bachelor of Engineering in Electronics and Communication from India. And she's also complemented by a Master of Science in Engineering and Technology Innovation Management from Carnegie Mellon. Juvi is deeply passionate about delivering innovative technologies to customers, focusing on intuitive user experiences. And her goal is to bridge the gap between cutting-edge technology, practical usability, ensuring that the products not only meet but exceed the customer expectations. I'd also like you to meet Candice Prank, Channel Manager at Nexa, a Watts brand specializing in intelligent water management solutions for commercial buildings. She has successfully led channel partnerships to optimize water systems, enhance property efficiency, reduce risks, and promote sustainability. She has a strong background in channel partnerships and go-to-market strategies for SaaS startups, and she focuses on bringing innovative solutions to the market. Before we get a little deeper into our discussion, we want to make sure we hear from you as well as our panelists today, and we encourage audience questions. You heard Paul earlier talk about how we get that done. Just a reminder, to submit any questions, you can navigate to the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen and type in your questions at any time. We're going to get to as many questions as we have time for today. So we're going to make the most of time. And with that, I'd like to bring our two panelists up to talk a little more deeply about their connections to the technology and to the importance of being an HVAC game changer. Juvi, I'd like to start with you with a little more of a deep dive into your background and what we'll be talking about today.
Thank you for having us, Wendy, here, first of all. I'd like to start, excuse me. I'd like to start with more about my background, as in how I got interested into this field. So I have the background in electronics and communication and more along the innovation. That's what brought me here in this industry, where I'm utilizing both of my skills, the controls portion from the electronics, as well as the innovation to bring out the products that are energy efficient, which brings up which increases the savings and all. And I would like to talk deeply about all the products that we have, or I have been working on at Aerco, about benchmarks, benchmark electric products, all those innovation later on.
That's wonderful. Thank you for that, Juvi. It's interesting, to see really the technology so rapidly evolving in the HVAC sphere. So I'm really excited to hear what we're going to be digging into in a few minutes. But first, Candice, I'd also like to have a little more of a background on your role and your interest in the industry, how it got started, and where you are now.
Thank you, Wendy, and it's a pleasure to meet all of you. Candice Prank. I'm the channel manager for Nexa. We are the smart and connected solution, or the intelligent management water solution for Watts and for Aerco. My background is largely in SaaS, which is software as a service, so really focused on technology and delivering innovative solutions to market, specifically with a focus on how we are modernizing the world of plumbing, modernizing the world of HVAC, and seeing those two be married together through those innovative solutions. So super excited to talk to you guys today about the solution in particular that we have on deck, which is called Nexa. And it's a really, really cool concept. It's meeting the needs directly of our facility managers. So we'll talk to you guys a little bit more about that and how all of this comes to life through the Edge controller. So super excited to be here. Thank you guys for having me.
Thank you, Candice. So we're going to tee you up, but you're actually back in the batting circle for now, because Juvi, I think we're going to start with you to talk a little bit about those IoT technologies, specifically Aerco's Edge controller. We talked earlier when we were meeting earlier yesterday, I guess. We talked about its role in improving real-time monitoring and control of HVAC and plumbing systems. Let's unpack that a little bit. Tell us more about that.
Okay, so before even we go into how those things work with Airco, I would like to point out that the basic requirements for all these real-time monitoring is the data availability. So we have to figure out if enough data is even available, because now I see in the market that there are solutions which provide maybe 4 or 5 data points, which is not able to provide the holistic view of the system. So for that, we were thinking and we came up with over 300 points, which is provided in our solutions at like in Benchmark and other products. So using this, we provide the holistic view. But the other thing is, after data, how is that data communicated, or how is that used for that remote monitoring? Even for that, we need the safety, because we live in an internet world and we have to be careful how the security is. At Airco, security is of paramount importance, so we have to consider that aspect as well. So considering those, we have onboard communication for using BACnet IP, BACnet MSTP, Modbus RTU, Modbus TCP. So all these communication protocols are also included. Along with that, we are also using separate Ethernet ports. So separate for BS communication as well as for the internet. That means if someone is trying to hack into your system, they won't be able to hack in. Along with that, one more thing I'd like to add here, that after all these remote monitoring, you also have to see how you are able to see all those items. So it's more along the ways that how we are seeing that on the remote monitoring, as in using Nexa or even the mobile applications, which we provide using our Bluetooth connectivity.
So that's an interesting, not twist or wrinkle, but certainly, knowing up front that that security question is already answered and addressed offers a lot of reassurance. And then the reliability of that data is even more valuable. And then you really aren't able to move into that real-time monitoring. That's what it sounds like to me. So from there, where do you see the benefits really lying? Gotten past some of those big hurdles on the security side and the data, but now where do you see the value in the edge controller technology or other IoT kind of technology?
So as even you also recognize that point, that security is so important. There have been some data breaches because some of the hackers were able to get into the system using the boilers. So it's yes, that was a major issue earlier. That's why the very first thing which we wanted to take care of was the security. So that was taken care of, all that we already discussed. Another thing was how easily they are able to monitor or utilize this information which is available to them. So that I was mentioning earlier about the mobile application as well.
Right.
So through the Bluetooth connectivity, they are able to see what is happening. Along with that, all this information is also going to our platform, remote monitoring platform, Nexa, which Candace would be able to provide more information later on.
Great. That's great. Candace, before we jump to you, when you're talking about that real-time, I guess, view of the data, Juvie, have you seen or heard, or are there any examples of some of those benefits that are there in real time, changes that need to be made, or?
Oh, yeah. So that's something we're seeing that's really huge. And I know,
Right.
you guys are really familiar. You're in the HVAC space, and a lot of the times, from a controls perspective, we're seeing solutions that just deliver alerts, right? Maybe they deliver alerts via email, maybe it's just via SMS. And then on the other side of the house, you have a full-blown BMS, where you're able to log in and really remotely monitor and control your system. So the solution that Watts provides is actually much more akin to a BAS in this space, and it provides these analytics and insights, these dashboards that you can go in and not only act on that alert that you received via email, right, to get that real-time monitoring kind of come to life, but you can go in and get a full-on view for diagnostics on what's going on within your system, right? So when we look back at water heater management, boiler management, you can go in and key in on what the root cause was, and it may not have been the water heater, right? So being able to do those upstream and downstream analyses, and so have BAS, building automation system. It's a great question. So the And the analytics engine is actually in-house. So we have our own in-house analytics engine inside of the cloud that we have built that's native to Watts, native to Aerco. So it's not Sky Foundry. Pavlas, great question. But yeah, those real-time analytics truly come to life end to end through the alerting technology, and as well as those dashboards that really give you that key to reduce risk, right, for your property, to go in and streamline those operations. Yeah.
Those benefits are very concrete, right? It's cost, it's efficiency, it's immediacy. Juhi, let's talk a little bit about some of those solutions on the sustainability benefit side. Some of those other efficiencies that we haven't yet addressed. I'd love to hear about that.
I know there a lot of people nowadays are trying to get more sustainable items or the products so that they can look forward for the future as well. So one of the major goals here would be about reducing the fossil fuel usage, and that can be done by using energy sources which are like electricity. We are seeing hybrid cars or even electric cars. So the same thing is coming to our industry as well. So we are also offering at Aerco, we have launched our electric boiler recently, and there are other products like Smart Place EV. So those are some new innovative products that we are bringing in, and by that even the controls also plays a major role, as in sometimes you don't have power available in your building. So how do you make sure that you are even able to get or utilize that properly in your building? So for that, the flexibility comes from the control side, where you can have hybrid controls, hybrid plants, where you can have even the gas-fired units powered with the or connected in cascade with the electric units. So this helps in the sustainability goal or achieving that.
It really does. And thank you for spelling that out. And, I would imagine that those technologies, again, just have a constant evolution. The innovations are happening so rapidly, and the benefits are right there, immediately harnessed. Candace, before I jump over to you, I just would like to say we are seeing questions come in. Thank you for these questions, everybody. They're fantastic. So you might hear your question being answered audibly. In other cases, we might be able to quickly connect with you in a text response. Keep them coming, and let's keep the conversation going. Thank you for what you've already contributed. So Candace, Juvi and I were speaking a little bit about that sustainability piece. Intelligent water monitoring solutions are another piece of that. Can you maybe expand on that a bit?
Yeah, sustainability is huge, especially when we think about these broader ESG goals that are being kind of pushed down, top down, and also bottoms up. The way that Nexa as a solution is able to really meet those needs is through flow metering. That's a huge, huge benefit that we provide as part of our solution. So through ultrasonic sensors, what we're able to do is basically get that flow usage data out of the system at different key points and make sure that we're exposing that to the right people, so that those facilities managers at the end of the day can really take control of their own usage and make sure that that aligns with their goals. So from a sustainability perspective, very keyed in on making sure that your top level ESG water usage goals are able to actually be met at the end of the day.
And Candace, I'm just going to follow up quickly on that. In addition to meeting, documenting, data capture, things like that go into the reporting are there. Yeah.
Good question, Wendy. So all of this is captured as insights inside of the platform. So essentially you can log in and there's a dashboard that immediately goes in and tells you what is your usage, right? And you can go in and extrapolate that based on varying degrees of time. So maybe you were just keyed in on last month, for example, or maybe you needed to key in on today because there was an issue where your flow was too high or higher than expected for the demand for your building.
Okay, that's very helpful. So, you've got a number of ways to use that data to really drive those efficiency and also meet those sustainability goals.
Exactly.
Julie, when we've been talking about the Aerco products, they're in the facility now. So how do you leverage those IoT features to keep those operational costs low, reduce them, monitor them, and then also increase the overall system longevity?
So moving on to the operational costs.
Yeah.
Two major costs are here regarding the servicing, as in what energy is being used and how do we maintain that energy source. Whether it is fossil fuel or electricity, you have to pay for that. So how can we figure out, how can we reduce the cost for that? You might also, let's take the example of benchmark E, how we are resolving that issue in that. So you might have heard that utility facilities, they charge differently during the peak hours versus off-peak hours. Peak hours are when the electricity demand is highest. So how about we utilize our electric units during the time when we don't have to pay a lot? So for that, we have the peak load management feature or solution where the unit operates during the off-peak hours, or we limit the usage of the unit during that time. So this is something unique or something innovative that we have here, and it is really useful in significantly reducing the operating costs. Along with that, the real-time monitoring plus the mobile application and the remote monitoring items that we provide, that also helps in significantly reducing the cost, as the servicing cost, people don't have to come to your facility or visit on site. So this reduces the travel cost. Along with that, they are also able to see what is the issue actually. So before even coming to the site, they prepare themselves that, okay, this is the issue based on the results that they see on the monitor or the platform. Now they would work accordingly, or they would bring those tools to work on it.
So that's a very interesting piece of it as well, the technology savings, but also in terms of staffing and just troubleshooting, you are really able to kind of pinpoint what's needed when to really cut costs across a number of different cost centers within the facility management budget. Wonderful. Candace, let's jump over. We talked a little bit about operations just now as Juvie, and then in terms of the intelligent water monitoring piece or the Nexa piece, what's that role in minimizing downtime and repairs and things like that?
So when we think about downtime, right, it's really critical to make sure that your uptime is as close to 100% as possible, right? Like that everyone needs to be keyed in on that.
Yeah.
And it's difficult when you have to make multiple, servicing calls and visits where you're basically continually trying to diagnose and get the right parts to actually solve for the root cause. So what Nexa offers, or the intelligent water management solution that Watts offers, we are actually able to leverage the insights through both the performance of the units and as well as the sensors that can be applied upstream and downstream to pinpoint the root cause before you service the issue. So it's really powerful when we think about, let's say, diagnosing hot water temperature delivery issues, right?
Yeah.
Where you're able to go in and bring in that service provider, bring in that contractor into the fold and actually expose those insights to them so that you can create a proactive servicing plan side by side before they actually come in for that visit. So we've seen that time and time again, reduce the number of visits that are required so that you can increase that uptime and make sure that that downtime isn't a risk.
Oh, that's really interesting. Now, this is going to be, I hope I'm not putting anyone on the spot, but a question has come up about applications for specific facilities, data centers. It would be an example. Are there facilities where you're seeing some of these applications coming online more frequently or more regularly, or where do you see those fits really taking place in the industry?
It's a great question. So from an application perspective, I'm happy to answer that when we think about intelligent water management. The question is, does Aerco have applications for data centers in particular? So the next application, which again is embedded with the edge controller, it's embedded with Aerco's technology, their equipment. It's compatible really with across the commercial building space. So when we think about data centers, it's certainly compatible there. The sweet spot, if you will, is really where there is a definitive need for water system insights and management as a whole.
Okay. So since some questions are coming on quickly, let's just jump into one more from Lonnie, who's asking about existing BMS systems. And I'm not sure if two of you can see this in our feed right now, but for newer boilers, and was wondering, how some of these integrations can work. Where do you see the best, the best integration there?
Sure. So from an integration perspective, when we think about our system, Nexa as a whole, we are working on integrations, for BMS applications in 2025. So you guys can certainly expect to see that from us later in 2025. So we're really excited to offer that today. We do not offer any endpoint integrations or APIs, but those are absolutely in the works. Now, I will say that for the units themselves, Aerco and Juhi, please, step in here. For the units themselves, they are compatible with BMS systems as well. So if you already have one in play, you can certainly do that integration there at an equipment level.
Yes, so
that'd be great. This would be a perfect jumping off point.
I also would like to add to what Candace mentioned that we do have BAS or BMS. We use that interchangeably, as there was one of the questions, what is BAS? So we use that interchangeably. We are compatible with BAS as an Aerco products are compatible with that. Along with that, we have Nexa compatibility with innovation, and we would soon be coming up with the benchmarks compatibility as well for that. So you would be able to see all the information up there on the platform.
All right. So we've been talking a little bit about some of the technologies, the integration. We have a question kind of looping back to some of the analytics and data part of our conversation earlier, asking if predictive analysis gives leverage for delaying preventive maintenance is how. Now, preventive maintenance can be a thorny subject for some in our audience, but if data can support some of this, I'd love to hear either of yours take on this. What kind of data is valuable there, in what kinds of decisions are being made for the preventive maintenance?
Sure. I can speak to this from an application perspective today inside of Nexa. So we are currently working on predictive models in order to embed those into the platform to really support predictive maintenance as a whole. So looking to the future, that's certainly something we expect to be able to bring into the fold. Ultimately, the type of data that needs to feed those systems is really all at the unit level. It's at the equipment level. So it's being able to get those historical data points built into a model that can then inform what that predictive maintenance needs to be and what the requirements are.
Right. So it sounds like we're talking a little bit about some of the decisions that are made that are then later going to impact the FM department and or the facility engineering department. What's your experience been, Juvi? I'll start with you, about connecting what you're hearing back from facility managers when they are implementing some of these technologies. Where do they see those immediate benefits, or where do you see them kind of leaning into when it comes to some of these IoT, enabled technologies, and then also the integration with some of the other pieces with Nexa and so on?
So major integration portion, as in we have been talking about the cost saving and getting to know that what exactly is happening on the unit. Plus, there were some questions about the predictive maintenance as well earlier, how we are helping them with those. So you always get the information that, okay, what is happening based on the trend. You would also see, okay, what things should be planned, as in the maintenance or the services that need to be planned way ahead. You can look at the unit based on the details provided. Oh, let's say that this sensor is not working properly or giving the readings which are out of range. Based on that, you can even plan those services way ahead. So these are some of the helpful items which facility managers could utilize there. Okay.
And I think, Candace, we were talking yesterday about the Nexa implementation. Any other insight into how the FMs are seeing that integration taking place?
Yeah, so it's actually a pretty simple implementation. So it's not anything as complex as what we normally see in the world of controls, where it's a pretty extensive process. So, and the reason being is because the types of sensors that we're deploying are very easy to deploy, and the way that the connection and integration works with the Aerco units is very simple. So if you're just looking to connect your units and extract the insights out of those and remotely monitor and kind of control those units, all it requires today is an Ethernet connection. We're working on the ability to expand that. If you're looking for system sensing, so temperature sensing, pressure sensing, flow, that just requires a couple hours of setup across the system to be able to remotely monitor those. And then it just immediately plugs into the cloud. So there's no, customization of, say, a local program that's only available for that facility.
That's great. Now, there is a question over here. Somebody's asking about how frequently the data is calibrated. Is that something that either one of you can speak to with either of those technology pieces?
Yeah, I can certainly speak to it from the Nexus side of the house on both the data points that we collect with the Aerco units and the data points that we collect upstream and downstream. So it is truly real-time monitoring. We generally leverage heartbeats from a sensing perspective, which means it can be calibrated anywhere from 1 to 10 minutes. So a lot of the times we do 1-minute increments. And then from the equipment side itself, it is immediate. So it's, it's every minute that you're really getting that data ingested into the system and then displayed.
That's great. We've got Dinesh asking about how to best calculate ROI for operation and capital investment. I know that's a really broad question, but I think it's an important one here because clearly, technology investment has to usually go up through the ranks and has to be blessed and signed off on. Juvie, would you speak to some of that ROI piece of the decision?
Sure, it also depends on what type of unit or what type of product you need. Let's say you are looking for boilers. So now you have to calculate about the electric versus the fossil fuel gas-fired boilers. Based on that, you would have to make the calculations on what would be the return of investment on those products, plus how much servicing, if you have any of the current products or from different companies or even from Aerco, you have to calculate like how often do you need all those servicing.
Okay.
Based on that also you can calculate, okay, if you have all these predictive maintenance available, based on that, can you reduce the trips for the servicing technicians? So it would be helpful in all those ways. You have to consider different aspects of that. You can't collectively say that, okay, no, I'm going for the electric boiler, so it would reduce. But there are different aspects of it, what features are available, which we are providing in our controllers or in our units.
It sounds like there is a little bit of legwork on the front end for those FMs and for those departments, but it's almost like an audit to really understand all of the moving parts that go into any of these technologies.
Mm-hmm. And along with that, one more thing I would like to add here, that peak load management, we are also trying to cut the utility prices. So that is also an important aspect there to consider when you are trying to calculate the ROI.
Yeah. Now, we've got a couple questions here. I'm just going to combine them into one. People are wondering, is there a way to see a mock-up of the dashboard? Can they kind of run through what this might look like in an installation in their own facilities or some sort of apple-to-apple view of the technology? So I'm going to assume the answer is yes, but I'm going to let you each take that and let us know how people can kind of experience the technology.
Sure. So from a technical perspective, looking at the application for Nexa, I'm happy to provide you guys with a live demo of the platform so that you can actually really see and get exposed to what insights are available inside of the dashboard, how do you capitalize on those, and how does it specifically work with the Aerco equipment. I'm happy to do that at any time for you guys after the close of the webinar.
Thank you, Candice. Juvie?
Oh, yes. Sorry, I was also typing the messages in the chat, so I was just distracted there. But thank you.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, sorry.
This is where we're like standing across from each other in the hallway and we're both going like this. Wait, no. But what
I
I'll say
know.
is to everybody on the call, we'll make sure that we get you in touch with our two speakers today for additional follow-up. We want to make sure additional questions, and there are so many coming in, thank you, additional questions are answered and addressed. So even if we don't get to all of them today, we'll make sure that there's an opportunity for follow-up after the fact. And what I'd like to do quickly is just jump into a few more because we are starting to sunset on this event. We talked a little bit about some future state coming in as quickly as 2025. So Candace, I'll start with you. Somebody here, Lee, is asking about any plans to implement integration capability outside, CMMS tools, Maximo, et cetera. Just wondering what the vision is there and what you're looking at in future state.
Really good question, Lee. So from a servicing standpoint and how we're streamlining work orders there, it's something we're looking into for 2025. I will say I won't be able to expand in a lot more detail on that product strategy at this time, but it is certainly something we are looking into, and especially as we get more and more feedback from the market, this is becoming kind of a critical area. We're absolutely looking into it.
Yeah, that makes sense. Well, we've got a couple more questions trickling in, so we'll take one or two more. But Juvie, I wanted to just touch base and make sure, we've talked a lot about, well, just about all facets of this technology, but I wanted to make sure we had a chance to really dig into some of the other pieces specific to some of the Aerco beyond IoT. I think you and I talked a little bit yesterday about domestic hot water, hydronic heating, any other future state technologies that you wanted to make sure we heard more about before we end our call today.
Yes, so the main goal is about the sustainability that we have been talking about today and even yesterday. So that's one of the driving forces for us. Plus, we are also trying to go towards the predictive maintenance, which Nexa is bringing us into. So those are two innovative items that we are actively working on, and we are moving towards that, towards more sustainable goal, reducing the energy cost, and increasing the efficiency.
That's wonderful. That's great to hear. Thank you. And then I think for you, Candace, when we talked about one last question here, I think we're going to take. Somebody was asking about live cases in the data center domain and the value proposition, but maybe we just want to talk about live cases in general. Is that something that if there were some follow-up, there'd be a way to share some of that information with our audience to learn a little bit more about that deep integration?
Yes, absolutely, Wendy. So we have a lot of case studies to share with you guys if you're interested in learning a little bit more about Nexa and its applications to date. We are exploring more and more in the data center domain. We are actually actively exploring within that domain, I should say. I don't explicitly have a case study for you guys in that space today, but I do have a lot of other relevant content that really captures the value propositions and how we're meeting the needs of different types of commercial buildings across verticals.
Oh, that's fantastic. Well, we are just about at the end of our time. I think there might be one or two more questions, but again, to everybody on the call today, please know we will have these questions back to Juvie and Candace for additional follow-up. But before we completely close out, I just wanted to ask each of you for your recommendations for next steps for anybody on this call today. If they're evaluating technology within their facility, if they're looking for a new integration or a new initiative, whether it's for the sustainability piece, the data piece, or all of it, where do you recommend they start? Juvie, where would you recommend people go next after they hang up on this call and want to learn more about the technologies?
So one of the important questions, even someone asked about the ROI, that's an important aspect in deciding what products do they exactly want for their building. So I'd say, first of all, decide what exactly are you looking for, what features or what items like energy sources you are looking for. Based on that, you can come to us, and we have different products, whether it is space heating, DSW, you can indirect water heaters, everything is available with us. So feel free to contact us. You will be provided the information after this session. So get in touch with us. We will discuss what exactly needs to be done there.
Wonderful. Thank you, Judy. Candace, it sounds like you're going to be talking with some people already from today's call, but next steps for anyone else, we'd love to hear it.
Yeah, absolutely. So again, thank you guys so much for the time today. Would love to have further conversations with anyone who is really looking for water system sensing for temperature, pressure, leak flow, and anyone who currently has or is looking to get an Aerco Innovation water heater or water heaters or benchmark boilers, or benchmarks. Those are all compatible within the platform. We'd love to have a further conversation with you guys to help you explore how you can really take advantage of remotely monitoring and controlling that equipment, as well as the insights that are available both upstream and downstream for your domestic hot water systems.
Great. Thank you so much. I feel like we really only scratched the surface, but I know there's a lot more technically very sophisticated information that are that will be shared after again we conclude today's call. So with that in mind, I want to thank you both for being here today. And I also want to say thank you again to Aerco for supporting our event today. We look forward to the next time we can all gather. But for now, we'll say thank you for everybody for your time. And with that, we'll conclude today's virtual event.